Husky Gawenda, welcome to Australian Musician.
Thanks for having me.
So, what's your isolation story? Where are you holed up and how are you coping?
I'm in Melbourne in my little apartment. I live here alone, and I'm doing fine. I'm doing okay.
Do you generally enjoy your own company, the solitude?
um, they say that one of the worst tortures is solitary confinement. Being trapped with yourself.
Yeah.
So I guess it can be really hard, but look, I spend a lot of time on my own anyway. I guess I do a lot of work from home. I write and record, and I'm no stranger to working from home. And I'm a songwriter. I guess isolation is an occupational hazard.
Yeah. So, what plans did the band have this year that you had to put aside?
Well, so we've got an album coming out in August. We've pushed that back a little bit, but it's now coming out August the 7th. Um, we had our first shows coming up in at the beginning of May, which we've had to cancel, and then the plan was to do some touring in the sort of second half of the year in support of the album, like a bigger national tour, and then the usual, there would be festivals that we'd be part of, and we were starting to talk about some overseas travel. We've always, on every album we've recorded, we've gone to Europe and sometimes the States as well. So obviously all of that is off. Getting hundreds of people into a room at the moment is just unthinkable. So
Yeah.
we don't know when that's going to happen again. But for now, that's off, and so I guess we're going to continue to release music, and we'll continue to write and record because I guess there's never been a better time to do that. Um, and we'll have to, I guess, like everybody else in the world, adapt and work out different ways of doing what we do.
Yeah. As you said, you do have an album coming out in August called Stardust Blues, which I believe follows the journey of a person through 24 hours in Melbourne, based on James Joyce's book Ulysses, which follows the character through 24 hours in Dublin. I'm just wondering how much of you is in this character.
Hmm. Well, the character's semi-based on me, and I guess the city is semi-based on Melbourne. Um, at the time that I was writing the lyrics for the record, I was reading Ulysses, and I loved the structure of the novel. I loved how it kind of told these tiny little stories about this kind of unremarkable guy, um, and all the little kind of seemingly banal and meaningless thoughts he had, but all these kind of insignificant little things that made up this one day in his life sort of told this very significant story, this very kind of that kind of cosmically large story, and I love the idea of that. So that was part of the inspiration, and then look, the character is definitely semi based on me, and a lot of the experiences the character has are based on experiences I've had, but I'm also not in the business of reporting facts, so it was fun. I could kind of draw from my own experiences, but also things that friends have told me or things I've been reading, um, and or just make stuff up, which is it was a fun process.
Yeah. So you've released a single called "Cut Myself Loose." How does that song fit into the narrative?
So, well, I guess "Cut Myself Loose" it's the first song on the album, so it's kind of like an introduction to the story, to the narrative that runs through the album. It's I guess the beginning of this character's journey throughout the city, but it's also the start. It's I guess in this part of the story, it's there's a kind of the character is dealing with an old love that he's trying to leave behind and muster up the courage to love again. Frightening stuff. And I guess just generally get free. And I guess that's the sort of theme that runs through the album. This kind of trying to break free from whatever it is that you want to or need to break free from.
Yeah. Speaking of lost love, the album was created at the Westbury Hotel, which was very close to the band's heart, and the hotel was demolished. What did that demolition mean to you emotionally?
Well, so the Westbury Hotel was a place that we lived and worked and recorded and wrote and just generally it was just a very kind of creative and inspiring space. A lot of different artists and musicians moved through there and lived there at different times. And like all those places, they're not built to last. They're quite rare these days, and we always knew from when we moved in there, we knew that there were plans to demolish the building. So we kind of lived in this constant state of we knew that it was one day just going to vanish, and I think that meant that we really appreciated the space and did some great things there. And so by the time we did lose it and we had to move out, and it very quickly got knocked down after we moved out, and I would drive past there. I've moved not too far from there, so every few days I'd drive past and see where it was at, and it got knocked down very quickly, and then there's already kind of like a huge structure that's been built on top of this beautiful old mansion that we were living in. And but by the time it was gone, we'd done such great stuff there, made some great music and had some beautiful times, and we recorded other bands there too. Ainsley Wills came through there, Hannah Cameron came through there, The Stitch, a bunch of other bands, and we just felt like there was so much we took with us that was going to live on, that it was okay to let that chapter go and move on to the next chapter. And then I guess that's kind of another theme of the album, kind of the life that comes out of after destruction, after death, the new life that comes.
And you were able to document the hotel with the video clip for "Cut Myself Loose" as well.
Yeah, that's right. So that was filmed at the hotel on our using our Tascam 388 tape machine, which is an old 1980s tape machine and mixer in one 1/4-inch tape machine. We were all in different rooms in the hotel, and Matt Redlick, who's also our producer and engineer, recorded and filmed it, and kind of just walked through the house, filming us playing while it was recording onto the tape. Gabriella Cohen also has a little cameo, plays some lap steel guitar at the end of the song on the video, and there are other videos too coming from the album. We recorded a video, another video there, and half of the video is, well, there are actually 3 parts of the video. there's one part that's in the hotel, similar to the Cut Myself Loose video, and then there's another part which is us singing literally on the rubble of the half demolished building. And then there's the third part is in a new kind of space in this beautiful garden. So anyway, that's coming soon.
Yeah, cool. In regard to the recording and your gear, what's your approach with, I mean, do you just fill the studio with every piece of gear you've got in case you need it, or are you more sort of definite in your idea of what you're going to use?
Well, we definitely like to have all sorts of fun toys at our fingertips. That's a really nice, it's like a luxury to have that, because, you know, I guess just every different piece of interesting gear or instrument, especially instruments, I think, is what we're interested in. We leave the kind of recording gear stuff to Matt, our producer. But, you know, every different interesting instrument can kind of inspire a kind of direction or an idea. So it's really nice to have lots of toys around. That said, we tend to kind of settle on certain instruments that they sound so good, we can't beat them. So they end up on every song. You know, we use this beautiful old vintage Hofner bass on every song on the record. And, you know, for every new song we recorded, we'd try a different bass, and we'd always end up back with the Hofner. Same with this J45 1950s acoustic Gibson that actually doesn't belong to me. It belongs to a friend, Richard Stolz, who runs a studio called Woodstock Studio, which is where we recorded the album onto tape. And that's a guitar that, again, it can't be beaten. So I always end up using it if there's an acoustic guitar on the song. The other thing that was very central gear-wise to this record was tape. We recorded the whole album onto 2-inch tape, 24-track tape. So that was a really important part of the recording process and something we hadn't done before.
Because of that, were you more mindful of how many takes you did?
Yeah, well, you know, I guess the reason we use tape, apart from the fact that we like the sound of it, and there's a lot of records that we love that have been recorded on tape, and we love the way they sound, I think we didn't want to use a computer to make ourselves sound good. We wanted to sound good and capture that. I think computers can tempt you to over edit and over manipulate, and tape forces you not to do that. You have limited takes. We did it all live. Not all, sorry. We did it live and then did some overdubs onto the tape. But even those overdubs, they were all kind of full takes rather than comping together and editing together takes. So I think you end up with something more human when you use tape. And, you know, the main aim is to tell a story and to tell that story as clearly as you can. And I think the way to do that is, you know, to do it in a kind of human way. And, you know, using tape, we had 4 people in a room playing music together, and we captured that. And I think that gives the recording a humanness, and I think the story comes through more clearly that way.
Yeah. I also noticed you used a very attractive looking semi-hollow bodied guitar in Cut Myself Loose. Tell me about that guitar.
Yeah, that's I've actually got that sitting right here. Can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
that's
beautiful.
it's called a, I'm just trying to remember what the name is. An ES390, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's a Gibson. It's fairly new. Um, and it's completely hollow. So it's got that really nice kind of mellow sound. But if you put it through, if you drive it hard, it can also be quite crunchy and quite dirty. And actually, this guitar, I snapped the neck on it. It's been fixed now, but I snapped the neck on a flight, and it's been fixed twice.
Right.
So I don't travel with it anymore. I never take it on flights, but it still sounds great. Sounds even better, actually.
Yeah. So when it comes to rehearsing this album up live, will you have to make any sort of tweaks to your stage rig?
Yeah, well, this is usually the time that we'd be preparing all of that and rehearsing and getting ready to play. We'd be heading off to. We'd be doing our Melbourne show this coming Friday night, and then Sydney on Saturday. So it's always a big challenge to kind of bring the recording to the live setting. We did a show in Brisbane last year and played a few new songs. So we had already started that process, and we added a fifth member to the band. And for that show, we actually had our producer Matt Redlick play with us.
Okay.
And he played electric guitar and sang backing vocals. I guess there's quite a lot of guitar on the record, so I'm the only guitarist in the band. I can't really cover all the parts live. That's what I usually do, but for this record, it's essential to have an extra guitar at least, and an extra voice is very handy too. And then in terms of gear, we've basically got all the gear between us, and yeah, I mean, the plan was to really kind of try to be as true to the recording as we could. So we were gonna pull out all the stops, and we still will when the time is right and it's safe to do so.
Yeah. One of the positives of this isolation period is the innovation that's going on out there in the online world. One of the great things come out of it is the Isolade Festival, the Instagram Music Festival, which you guys played a part in. How did you find that experience?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was great. I guess one of the positives, like you said, is I mean, living in Australia, we can talk about the positives. I guess if there'd be some places in the world, if you were in Turkey or the States or Italy or Spain, you probably wouldn't be talking about the positives. But we're lucky and we can talk about them. And one of the positives is that perhaps you do things that are outside your comfort zone or you wouldn't otherwise normally do. And I'm not much of a social media guy. I haven't done I've never done a live stream. I didn't even know you could do it on Instagram. So that's probably something I wouldn't have done. And we found the experience great. It was a little bit weird being on this end of it and kind of just feeling like, we were just in my living room on our own, and we couldn't see anyone out there, but there was a little number on the top of the screen that said 700, and we kind of knew there were 700 people watching us, but couldn't see them. It was a little bit strange, but the reaction was really lovely, and it was just a chance to connect with fans, which is, really important at the moment and hard to do. And Isolate has been amazing at, in connecting artists and their fans. It's just been, incredible.
Stardust Blues will be the band's fourth album. You've been around a little while now. When you look back at the band's career, what are your strongest memories?
Um, well, at the moment, if I look back right now, I think a lot about um, the touring and the live shows we've done, because that just seems so far away at the moment. And I guess another one of the positives that come out of a time like this is you have the opportunity to appreciate things that sometimes you probably take for granted. And often when I'm on the road, I complain about it. And I find that I'm a bit of a homebody. I like to be at home. I like to be kind of working and in the comfort of my home and my home city. And but now I just wish I could be out there on the road. I wish I could be, playing shows and actually, seeing fans face to face. And I've been thinking a lot about the great experiences we've had, the opportunities we've had to see different cities and meet different people, and play with all sorts of great artists. We've been very lucky in that way. So that's what that's what I think about at the moment, and really look forward to getting back to that.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to the day when we can see you live in person as well. Husky, thanks for joining us, and good luck with the album when it comes out in August.
Thanks very much.